This is Nebraska's Rainwater Basin. It is the neck of the hourglass for migrating waterfowl as they travel south for the winter and again when the flights return north to begin producing next year's flights.
So in Nebraska, we don't produce a lot of ducks, but we migrate a lot of ducks, over 8 million a year. 18 million when you can include both the fall and spring migration ducks. Our job in Nebraska for Ducks Unlimited is to try and get those waterfowl as healthy as we can before we send them north.
In addition to the scores of waterfowl this area supports, it also is the home and haven for farmers and their livestock. It feeds the aquifers that provide the water for Nebraska residents, and it is widely regarded as a must-see destination by almost everyone that enjoys the outdoors.
Grew up in Nebraska. Every spring we used to come here to observe the spectacle of the spring migration. And so before I ever picked up a gun, I picked up a pair of binoculars.
Rainwater basins in Nebraska is just very special because if you've never witnessed that, it's an amazing thing to watch all the waterfowl.
So 30 years ago, I started my career as a conservation officer up in the Dakotas, and I had never really heard of the Rainwater Basin. And then some of the guys I worked with were called down there. They were with Fish and Wildlife Service, and they headed down to the Rainwater Basin in Nebraska with an incinerator. And when they came back, they showed me pictures and they talked about how they had collected over 80,000 birds that had died in the Rainwater Basin that spring from avian cholera. It was because the birds were concentrated. There were just a few wetlands. It was a drought. It was just a perfect storm. Sick birds were there and they were making other birds sick, and it was just this massive die-off. Well, little did I realize that I was going to get the opportunity 30 years later to maybe try and fix some of that. After I got here, talking to some of the scientists and some of the people that had been on this landscape for a long time, it became really obvious that what we needed was more water, and we needed it during the drought years. There's plenty of water during the wet years and the normal years, but the drought years, that's when the bad things happen.
DU has worked in the Rainwater Basin for over 30 years, but realizing the importance of the area and the deficit we face, Ducks Unlimited and its partners in the Rainwater Basin have developed a plan to protect and enhance the wetland habitat that nurtures the annual migration of North American ducks and geese.
A lot of discussion, a lot of experts talking to the scientists. It soon became obvious that we couldn't afford to buy all the wetlands that we needed to buy in the Rainwater Basin. So what we decided to do was, let's buy the water. We only need it for 4 or 5 weeks a year in the spring to stop that kind of disaster from happening. The water is a lot cheaper and it's a lot more useful for agriculture in the area.
Ducks Unlimited aims to develop a dedicated fund to develop the Rainwater Basin. It will be used to get and keep water on the landscape in dry years and give back in the wet. Working with an array of conservation partners and private landowners, DU seeks to ensure this area can provide for all those that live and work in the state, as well as all those that reap the benefits of healthy waterfowl populations.
My husband Casey and I have decided to donate to the fund for several different reasons. The first is habitat and conservation, because we do know how important the Central Flyway is. It's important to have the food and the water here for the birds that need it when they need it. The second is going to be for hunting, where we both hunt. We hope to continue hunting with our future generation as well. And third, with our next generation on the way, we want to make sure that the habitat is there, the birds are there, the water is there, and our future generations, whether they hunt or not, can use the space as they see fit.
Help Ducks Unlimited build a fund dedicated to restoring the Rainwater Basin.